Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to dig into one of the biggest and most common questions in the Java world. Why on earth can't a Java class have more than one parent? Getting this is super important because it really shows you what Java is all about right at its core. You learn this rule super early on, right? A class can extend another class, but that's it, just one. And this isn't some random rule they threw in. Nope. It was a very specific choice the creators of Java made to keep the language simple and, predictable. Plus, this is a classic interview question and a huge topic for exams, so you're definitely going to want to know this.
So, here's our game plan. We'll start with the kinds of inheritance that Java is totally cool with. Then we'll get into this idea of having two parents, see the massive problem it creates, and finally check out Java's really clever way of dealing with it. By the end of this, you'll be able to explain this stuff like a pro.
Okay, let's dive in. Before we talk about what Java doesn't allow, we need to be crystal clear on what it does. So let's take a look at the approved ways you can build what's basically a family tree for your classes in Java. First up, the most basic kind, single-level inheritance. It's as simple as it looks. You've got one parent, class A, and one child, class B. B extends A, and that's it. It's a clean, direct, one-to-one relationship. Super straightforward.
Now we can stretch this out a bit. That brings us to multi-level inheritance. Here, class C inherits from B, and B inherits from A. Just think of it like a family line: grandparent, parent, child. Java has absolutely no problem with this structure at all.
And here's the key thing to remember. The reason these both work perfectly is because there's zero confusion. If you call a method on an object of class C, the compiler knows exactly where to look. It checks C, then it climbs up to B, and if it has to, it goes all the way up to A. The path is a single, straight line. No guesswork needed. All right, so we've seen the nice, neat, vertical family trees that Java loves. But what if a class could inherit from two parents at the same time? This whole idea is what we call multiple inheritance. And this slide just shows the difference so perfectly. On the left, that's our straight line, the multi-level path we know and love. But look at the right. We have two separate paths from A and B suddenly merging into one child, C. This is the new shape, and this is where the trouble starts.
Now, this isn't just some made-up theory. In other languages, like C++, what you see on the screen there is totally valid code. But if you try to type that in Java, the compiler is going to throw an error immediately. So, let's get to the real reason why Java says no way.
Okay, here we are. This is the heart of the whole issue. The reason Java shuts this down is to avoid a very specific and very fatal problem. Let's build the exact scenario where the whole system just breaks. So, follow me here, step by step. First, let's say parent class A has a method called display. Okay? Now imagine parent class B also has a method with the exact same name, display. Step 3, our child, class C, tries to inherit from both A and B. And then, the final step, we make an object of C and we try to call that display method. And there it is, the killer question. Which display method does it run? The one from A or the one from B? The compiler is completely stuck. It has two perfectly valid paths, but no rule to tell it which one to take. It's paralyzed. This mess has a name. It's called the Ambiguity Problem. And because the diagram of the classes often looks like a diamond shape, it's also famously called the diamond problem. It's a complete deadlock that would make our code totally unpredictable. So you have this potential for total chaos. How did the designers of Java solve the ambiguity problem? Well, their solution was incredibly simple and practical, and it really speaks volumes about the language itself. Java's solution is just to stop the problem before it can even start. Instead of inventing complicated rules to fix the confusion, the designers just made it illegal. You can't have a class with more than one parent. The compiler stops you right there, making sure this ambiguity never, ever gets into your program. So you see, it was a conscious choice, a trade-off. They could have a complex feature, or they could have guaranteed clarity in the code. And they chose clarity every time. That decision is a huge reason why Java is known for being so robust and reliable. This quote right here just sums it all up. For the people who created Java, a feature that could cause this much confusion was worse than not having the feature at all. Simplicity and predictability won. Hands down.
All right, let's do a quick recap of everything we just covered. This is the stuff you absolutely want to lock in, especially for exams and interviews. Let's nail down these key points.
So first, Java loves single and multi-level inheritance. They're clear, they're simple. Second, Java does not support multiple inheritance, at least not for classes. Third, the big why is to avoid the ambiguity problem, which you can also call the diamond problem. Fourth, that problem pops up when a child inherits methods with the exact same name from two different parents. And finally, it all comes down to Java's philosophy: clarity and simplicity above all else. And I'm going to say it again, you really have to remember this. This is one of the most classic Java interview questions out there. If you can clearly explain the ambiguity problem, it shows you really get object-oriented programming and why Java was designed the way it was. So I'll just leave you with this one last thought to chew on. A class can't have multiple parents. But what if you still need an object to have behaviors from lots of different places? Well, it turns out Java does have another way to do that. If you're curious, maybe go look up Java interfaces. Thanks for joining me on this one.